We have here a researcher 1 from Norwegian Institute for City and Regional Planning at the Oslo Metropolitan University. Hege Hofstad, please welcome.
Har du sånn trykkersak? Jeg tenkte på sånn, dere som... Nei. Bruk den der. Ja, ok. Okay, can you hear me? Is it on? No? That's right. Okay, good. Hello, nice to meet you all. And nice to hear all about your aims and goals for what you are planning to do. This is actually what I'm studying all the time. Exactly what you are dealing with. I'm studying you most of my time. So it's just very nice to be here and meet you. So what I have been asked about talking about is how to work across sectors, because you have, all you are dealing with is there's different people, different actors that has to be part of your project if you are to succeed. This you know already. And so what I will talk about is I will try to frame the current situation. What are our challenges really? And I will delve into co-creation and interactive leadership as a solution to these challenges. And I have to hurry and say immediately that this is not a quick fix, but it's an aim. It's what we can stretch for, and maybe where we are heading. Okay, so let me start by talking about current trends and challenges. You as cities, I have just briefly looked at your project. I see that you are in a good company with the ambitious cities all around the world. You want transformation towards a sustainable future. And what is interesting as well is that metropolitan regions and cities are taking the lead. They are more ambitious than their own states in very many situations. It's like this in Norway, and it's like this in very many places. And actually, this is what stimulated us to look into leadership of co-creation in a project that we have. Is these extremely ambitious goals that all cities have. And you can find, some of you can find yourself or a nearby city in this list. So you can see it's really high up. And you are having high ambitions as well. I just looked through your project description, and you want to prepare and implement action plans. And in order to do that, you have to share solutions, you have to deal with multi-level governance, and you have to make sure that you have participatory planning that Arthur was just talking about. And what is the nature of the challenge that you are heading for then, if you are to succeed with your goal? What you are dealing with is what in research, and I guess maybe you as well, are characterizing as a wicked problem. And what is a wicked problem? A wicked problem is hard to define. What is a sustainable future, for example? It is hard to localize. Where is the problem actually? It's hard to say that, okay, this is the source, so let's just work on that. It's in very many places. Different scales. It's the global system. It's also what we do in the local setting. It's very complex. It's also hard to implement, just because you have to have with you so many different actors, and they are continuous. And what I mean by saying that is that when can you say that you have succeeded? When are you sustainable enough? So what happens is that you set goals, and when you reach that goal, you have a new one. So it's more of a vision in a way. And there is no right, objective, right solution. There is all different sorts of professionals and lay knowledge that contribute to the solution. And what we are experiencing, and I think also you can join me on that, is that, okay, maybe it's not the technological solutions that's really the problem. The problem is how to govern and manage transformation. How do we do that exactly? Because conventional modes of governance are poorly rigged for the task. I will come back to that. And leadership, that is our focus in the project I'm leading on that I will come back to. Leadership is an essential factor for success, for managing to co-create what you are aiming for. And what we are looking at is the dynamic interplay between leadership on the one side, stimulating arenas for co-creation. And when I have talked and interviewed people working with these kind of wicked problems, what they tell me is that, okay, I have to, one of the most challenging things is to be able to be involved at the arenas that have traditionally been closed. You know, for example, in a planning setting, he was just talking about software and hardware. It's for the software people to go to join the hardware people, to be able to influence them, their priorities. It's hard, and one of my informants, she said that I had to put my tongue in the doorstep in order to get involved. It was hard to come in. But what they also say that if you put your tongue many times into the door, it's easier. So you have to just continue and do not give up. What is another challenging aspect is that everyone is who is against sustainable development or to reduce CO2 emissions or to make health-friendly communities? No one. Everybody is agree on the goal, but still, when you leave them, they do exactly as they did the day before, and that is actually one of the also one of the challenges. So if I were to distill the core challenges, it is of course to transcend silos. It's the traditional way of dealing with problems, because of course we have to have experts on a topic, but continuously more you have to, as an expert, also be you have to manage to look up from your profession, from your expertise, and collaborate with others. And what they are also experiences is that there's a lack of long-term and strategic perspective, which is at the core of these goals of sustainability, of climate change. So there's a lack of priority and systematization or structure for how we are going, where we are heading, and how. They also experience that there is insufficient resources for exactly these transcending issues. It's lack of capacity in the organization, and it's also very complex tasks, because what does it mean actually in practice? It's okay to have large, visions and strategies, but when you are to make the decisions on the ground, what is the best solution? That's not always so obvious. But what I will argue is that leadership is a significant factor in order to deal with these challenges. So let me just say 2 words about what is co-creation. I know that when the Norwegian Research Council are asking for project, they get a lot of proposals on co-creation from municipalities, and I guess that's an all-European trend. So what is it exactly? It is co-creation that involves two or more public, private, and or civil society actors that work together to solve a common problem. And it's not any problem. It is about creating public value. In this, at least in this definition that we work with. And you exchange knowledge, resources, and ideas that makes it possible to work on this problem in another way than you can do on your own. So what is co-creational or interactive leadership then? It is to enable arenas of collaboration, network, and partnership internally and externally. It creates action and resources from a broad area of actors from different sectors and levels. And what is especially important is that it's not about only to develop a solution or to implement a policy. It is actually to co-initiate, to make the policy together. And of course, the main reason is that public authorities in many ways do not sit on the solution themselves. They cannot deal with that. They are dependent, or you are dependent on private actors, on civil society actors, on organization, on the state, neighboring communities. So you are dependent on working on in this way. So what we are studying is how to create and stimulate co-creational arenas that give direction to the city administration, business and civil society's activities, enabling them to contribute to the green shift. And it's a Nordic project. So which governance measures can support co-creation then? And we have some hypotheses that I will share with you. Our hypothesis one is that interactive leadership strengthens capacity and competence for joint efforts. And what do we mean by that? To create the co-creational mode is about the first thing that we find in all research on governance and collaboration shows that trust is the main thing. So you should utilize established trust-based relationships and work to create new ones. That's the primary, that's the main thing. And then you develop and communicate substantive knowledge on relevant problems, policies, and the political landscapes. And in many situations, that's actually what collaboration networks are all about. It's about knowledge sharing. The difficult thing is maybe to go further and develop joint solutions. But in order to work in this way, you have to develop flexibility in organizational structure, in budgeting, in performance measures, so that the organization are heading for these more wicked problems, not the smaller sectoral goals. And use of human resources in order to expand the room of maneuver for co-creation. And of course, in practice, it's about knowing, using, and altering available governance mechanisms in support of co-creation. So you have as a city or a municipality, you have different forms of steering mechanism that you can use. Some of them you are in charge of yourself. The three first here, you can govern your own municipality by setting goals, monitoring, procurement. You can do municipal provision. You can develop for example, your transport infrastructure to a certain extent. You can develop your own municipal regulation, of course, for example, through land use planning. But then you are also dependent on information and awareness raising, incentives, partnerships, in order to get all the others to work in the same way that you want, or towards the same goals. And you can take initiative towards other actors to make voluntary measures. You can, as Arthur was telling about the metro line, you can go into public-private provision, or you can engage people in order so that they mobilize themselves. And I guess you can add on this list, but this is what Harriet Bulkley was mentioning.
Question.
Yeah?
Could you go
Yeah.
back to the slide before?
Yeah.
What's the difference for you between municipal enabling and voluntary measures?
This is more nudging in a way. You are stimulating them actively. This is what, and voluntary measures, this is what they do themselves. But this is active information and awareness raising. This is more indirect in a way, I think. But they are overlapping a bit. Yeah. If you have questions while I'm talking, just feel free to give me them. Okay, so my second hypothesis is that public leaders assume the role as brokers. Enable co-creational awareness signified by learning and innovation. And what is to be a broker? It is, firstly, to be a convener, to create a basis for learning and innovation by consciously selecting actors with innovation assets, clarifying roles, encouraging interaction, and anchoring decisions politically. So it's all about designing the process. And it's also to assume the role as facilitator. It's to lower transaction costs and friction by consciously designing and framing the process, creating a culture for trustful learning and exchange, and turning tensions into constructive learning. So it's all about culture building in a way. And it's also to be a catalyzer. It's to stimulate active search for new and innovative solutions by creating new perspectives on the situation and task, by constructing a sense of urgency, preventing tunnel views, create open and creative search processes, coordinate an implementation process, and assume the role of ambassador. This is not easy tasks, but it's something to stretch for. It's the roles that have been identified when you study the successful, leaders of co-creation. Co-creation, so hypothesis 3 is co-creation strengthens the city's ability to push forward the green shift. And why is that? Co-creation stimulates transformation because expert knowledge of different and or complementary kind are involved, because you also engage situational knowledge representing different institutional locations. The nature of the problem can be better understood because you have a diversity of knowledge and challenges that they are dealing with. Provisional solutions can be found and agreed upon in a more efficient and fluent way. And you have shared contributions, coordinated actions, and mutual adjustments that are enabled as the agreed solutions are put into practice. So this is my final slide, I think. So I'm trying here to summarize what I've actually said. So what is it? What is it all about to lead climate transformation, for example? It's firstly to give strategic direction. That's all about leadership. It's to understand the challenge, it's to describe the challenge, and it's to set the level of ambition and describe the desired turn of events. This is what planning is all about, actually. But it's also to co-create, it's to develop interactive leadership, enhance number and quality of ideas and solution. It's also to institutionalize arenas of co-creation as part of initiation, development, and implementation of new policies. It's about facilitating, to stimulate divergent interests and understanding and exploit the creative potential of them and support initiatives. So it shouldn't always be harmonious. It's also about clashes of different knowledges and different experiences. And it's about redirecting public measures, as I just told you. And you have direct measures and you have more indirect measures. This is another way of saying what I've showed you in the other slide. Okay. Thank you. And good luck.